This is the Igros Moshe, Yora, Chilak Beit, the second one. We have a 132. It's the Isser, limit Torah to a goy. So Hine, there's a woman who is misgayer, she turns into Judaism by the Rav Meha reformer. So if she gets a reform conversion, Ina Gioris Kral, she is not a Gioris. There is no such thing as this being considered as a Jew. And she's a goy, as she was at the beginning. And anyone who married them as a woman, he's married to a goy. And when they have a child, they have the Din Torah, they're a complete goyim. Not gemurim, like it was as if they had no gerus at all. And if you're able to have some type of hashpah and some type of influence on them, that he should abandon his wife. Not only is it a good thing to do, but you are obligated on this to get him to abandon his reform conversion wife. And if he's not able to have this type of influence on him, also it's good that they know. Even if you can't get him to divorce, you should still know. Or he doesn't use the language of divorce because they're not married, but he should abandon her. But even if he can't get him to abandon her, he should still know that they're not that they were never converted. So make it clear to them that they're not Jewish, and that they won't have this. They won't be tricking themselves and the whole family thinking they're Jewish when really they're not. And when it comes to Chag Pesach, and when you come from home to your house from the yeshiva, because obviously on Erev Pesach you just stay in yeshiva until it's time for seder, and then you find there, so you just come home and all of a sudden you just find there that your relative and his wife, and she's a goy. They're just there at your seder table, and you never knew. Al pi din, so she's a goy according to din, and you are going to need to give over the Haggadah and to give over the translation in order to give the zechus of your father and your mother. So the father and the mother have a chiyuv to tell over to the children. So therefore, you go to the seder in order that your father and mother can be there at the seder with you and fulfill their mitzvah. And now there's just some goy sitting there, and you're like, well, I don't want to be here anymore. Umamela tashmiya gam hi. So she is going to learn Torah through you explaining the Torah and translating the Haggadah to your parents. So im motor lefanecha, is this motor to do, or you should just abandon, kick her out of the house, have a fight with your relative? It's pashut le'nias daiti. That Ravami says in Chagiga that you don't give over divrei Torah to a goy. That's davka when the kavana is to give to the goy. But when the kavana is to learn the divrei Torah, is to learn by yourself and to give it over to Jews that are there. So really the ikra here of the seder is you're going to give it to all the Jews, and it turns out there's a goy there. Lo ne'asor. It's not asur. Machmas shenimsa sham gam goyakim. So you have 5, 10, 15 Jews at your seder table and one goy. So therefore, since all the Jews are going to get the Torah, the fact that there's a goy just there doesn't make it asur. Shegam ken yishma memela hadavar Torah. So therefore, the goy will just hear memela that you're not giving it. You're not teaching the goy. The goy's there while you're teaching others. We also have something that's like a proof to this. You can see what it is asur to learn also your slave Torah. So there's going to bring a hekesh or a comparison between teaching an Eved and teaching a Goy. And the Rambam says that it's Asur, and we see that Tavi, Avdo of Rav Rama Gamliel, so many stories in the Gemara about the slave of Rama Gamliel called Tavi, and he seemed to be a Tamachachim. He was a Tamachachim, Gadol, and he was fed Roy Lismoch. You could even hold of him, as we see in Yoima. And then the Chachamim were learning, and they were working out if also when Tivi was by them, so they would learn. So Tivi was with them. So the slave of Rama Gamliel was with the Chachamim while they were learning Torah, and they were doing Pilpul HaTorah and going through all the Svaras and darshaning the Gemara, and Tivi was there. So the Kavana was to hear the Divrei of Chachamim, as we see in the Rishonim, in Sukkah. Tosfos brings it. So we see that since the kavana of the Chachamim was to learn by themselves, they were trying to learn Torah. And it wasn't asur, even though they knew that Tivi, the Eved, was there. he would also learn from them. So just because a goy turns up doesn't mean that it's also for you to learn Torah. Again, there'll be more bittul Torah just because a goy is around. And it's mastaver, so also with a goy, it's not just because an evid's mutter, therefore a goy is, but he says mastaver that the goy is mutter, because the isser is only that the kavana is to give over just to the goy. So you're just teaching the goy. Don't just teach the goy. But if you're teaching Jews and the goy happens to turn up, they don't have to stop teaching the Jews. But when the limud is to a Jew, even though this guy is also there, then there's no iser. And even in Svara, maybe there's a place to make a difference between a goy, and that the goy would be more machmir than an eved, because an eved is like half a Jew has a din of a woman, whereas a goy has no Jew, is not like a Jew at all. Aval kaven, that the iser is by both of them, that it's also to learn Torah, whether you're an eved, whether you're a goy. And we see that there's a heter by Eved when the kavana is not to teach him, but Mamela he hears. So then we can, therefore, you shouldn't also by a goy, and therefore it's mutter to give over the Haggadah and to give over the translation in order that the parents will understand and the whole family will understand, even though through this act you're going to be teaching Torah to a goy. And you should know, as he finishes off his teshuva, that the yayin that she touches is aser, because she's a goy. So the goy touching the wine will make it aser. And it's also understood that that your relative who ended up marrying this goy, who did this reform conversion, is not in a shomer Shabbos. So Pasha says that this guy is not going to be shomer Shabbos, same as Lamaisa, he married a goy. Umamela, also the wine that he touches will be aser. So here's a makor. I mean, it says in the Shulchan Aruch that a somebody who doesn't keep Shabbos, who does shchita, has the din of a goy. So, but there's no mafurish din in the Shulchan Aruch saying that a Jew who doesn't keep Shabbos touches wine is a goy. But it's muvan. It's understood that he has a din of a goy. For all halachas if he doesn't keep Shabbos. So here, Moshe Feinstein is saying that a Jew who doesn't keep Shabbos will usher wine that he touches. Pashtus is that it's if he breaks Shabbos before Hesia, which is a bit of a different soggy. And he will need to have mashkiach aliyan, to keep watch over the wine and make sure that they don't drink it, that they don't touch it. So when you're drinking the wine, so you can pour into their glass and they can drink their own treif wine, but make sure that they don't touch the wine on the table. So here it says it's good that you will mevashal your own wine before Pesach. So before Pesach, pour all your wines into a pot and start cooking them, because then it won't usher them by touching them, because the wine mavashal is not usher by touching by a goy. And there we will have the bless and the hatzlacha, b'teira, and yiras Hashem. Signed, Moshe Feinstein. So I'm not quite sure how you have time here to boil your wine before Pesach, seeming as you're in the yeshiva until seder time, but you might have to build it into your schedule in order to cook your wine before Pesach, in case your not so from relative brings a non-Jew to your seder.